Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to call this meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty One territory, the home and traditional lands of the Ojibwe, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Carrie Linklater, and I am the chairperson this afternoon. I am joined on the panel by Ms. Gail Anderson via Zoom and Mr. Mike Colatrulio to my right. And our secretary is Ms. Crystal Harland, and our assessors are Mr. Rattan and Ms. Pawar. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment role in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. Statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by council and is independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board. The matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony, followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. And this information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. This afternoon, we will be hearing items 1 through 6 on our docket today. Mrs. Harland, would you please affirm the assessor and the applicant's testimony?
Yes, Madam Chair. Madam Assessor, would you please stand? Would you please state your full name? Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you. Mr. Assessor, thank you for standing. Would you please state your full name?
Abhishek Rattan.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you for standing. Mr. Applicant, would you please state your full name?
Marcelo Navarro.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rattan and Ms. Pawar, and Mr. Navarro. And I believe you were starting us off first, Ms. Pawar. Yes. All right. You would like to proceed. We are looking at item number 1 on our docket, which is 1844 Portage Avenue. And we are looking at assessed values. So whenever
Yes.
you're ready.
Okay, so file number 242494. And the roll number is 070-200-29100. Address is 1844 Portage Avenue. Owner is Red River Co-op. 2025 assessed value is based on the reference date of April 1st, 2023 is 1,586,000. This property has actual year build is 1954 and the effective year build is 1974. It has a land area of 18,300 and the gross and leasable area are same at 1,920 square feet. And the page number 2 have the pictures of the subject property. It is the overhead view. Subject property is located at the intersection of Portage and Roseberry Street. And the page number 3 has a front facing picture of the co-op. Page number 4 has the information about the sales history of the subject property. Subject property sold on September 14, 2022 at $1,866,622. And that sale is arm's length sale. I believe it is arm's length sale. And the subject property also sold back in 2016 for the dollar sale, and that is between relatable parties. So we did not include for analysis. In the page number 5, I have the income stream, and this subject property has a SKP store with the leasable area of 1,920 square feet. Rent is $33.42, and potential rent is 64,166. It has a vacancy loss of 2%, expense at 3%, shortfall of $6 per square foot, generates the net operating income of 60,767, and the cap rate is 5.45%. It has the additional building value of 471,000. And the page number 6 has the information about where from that additional building value comes from, which including tanks, pumps, canopies. And on the page number 5 at the last, the market value came up at 1,586,000. Page number 6, I have the rent comparable of the subject property. Please note there is a correction in my comparable number 2. I noticed after I submitted the docket, there is a discrepancy in the square footage and also the net rent per square foot. So the square foot for the comparable number 2 is supposed to be 4,580, and the rate net price per square foot is supposed to be $23.50. So any docket I'm presenting today have this comparable, that is the same correction I supposed to submit. And my comparables has a average mean after the correction is $32.98, and the median is $32.22. And the page number 7 has the further breakdown of the income value summary. Page 8 has the capitalization rate table. Subject property has a cap rate of 5.45%, which is falling in between the office suburban of the city of Winnipeg, 5.25 to 6.75. Page number 10, 11 has the income and expense mailer, which shows that the property is fully owner occupied. And from the page number 12 to page number 17, I have the pictures of the rent comparables. So that is the end of my presentation. Any question? Thank you.
Thank you. Navarro.
I don't have any questions.
Ms. Anderson.
Thank you. Thanks for your presentation. Just in regards to your cap rate,
Yes.
on page 8, you said it falls, the cap rate of 5.45 falls within office?
Yeah, because this is the office property, so VSR properties falls under the office section as per the city department, so that's why I'm considering this cap rate in between office section of this table.
Okay, so is it a suburban
Suburban, yes,
A or B?
25 to 6.75.
Is it suburban A or suburban B? What would you consider it? I know the city's cap rates are the same for both, but the other.
Consider suburban B, although I am not fully sure about that because I don't have like detailed study about this suburban A and B, but because it has the same, so I consider it's B.
Okay, okay, that's my only question. Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you. Sorry, I need you to go back to page 6 on your report.
Yes,
And to pump 2, you said that had an error in the rate per square foot that was reported in your table,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
So what is that rate again, please?
Comparable number two, 1425 McPhillip.
Yes.
Square footage supposed to be 4,580 square feet.
Sorry, the square footage is incorrect.
Both.
Ah, okay, so
We
area
reviewed
is,
it later,
okay, area then is 4,000,
580 square feet,
thank you.
and the
And-
rate $23.50.
Now. Forgive me for asking, but 1425 McPhillips is a service station
I think it has the
and a.
everything, it has a car
Yeah.
wash too.
So that is a service station with a drive-through car wash, is it
Yes,
not?
yes.
Okay. And could you then give me the adjusted average and the median again? for them?
$32.98 is the average mean,
32.98,
yes, and the median is 32.22.
very much. And just one more question.
Yes.
You said that you use the cap rate for office
Yes.
and. This isn't an office, this is a service station,
This is a service station, but it's
a convenience store, correct?
yes,
And a car wash,
the subject property,
or no car
the
wash?
subject property only has the convenience
Ah,
store.
only the convenience store, okay,
Yes.
fair enough. But. Forgive me, but would it not more resemble a retail store than an office?
Even though we consider as in a retail, it will be on the low side of the retail because of the low risk. The reason why it is a C store, it has a low risk compared to the normal retail store because their main purpose there to sell the gas, not like chips or any other things like the normal retail store sells.
And I appreciate the thought, but. It more resembles a retail store than it does an office. An office is just that, an office, whereas retail, you're selling something. Here you're selling gas
Mhm.
and you're selling few snacks, etc., or coffee, or whatever they are selling in the convenience store. I don't understand how the department is looking at this as anything other than a retail.
Yeah,
And I appreciate there's
yeah.
nothing within
Yes.
this to show service stations, I appreciate that, but. It looks more like a retail than it does an office.
Yeah, I agree with you. I only choose office, the reason why, because this property is in the section of office section. Otherwise, it is more retail compare, like as per the classification, we can say. But as I work in office section, so that's why I said office section, like a cap rate table. Otherwise, it is the low end of the retail. I am agree with you.
Okay, those are my questions.
Thank you. I just have a couple, this was model driven, I'm assuming?
Yes,
Okay, so you yourself did not make any changes?
no,
All right. And page 6 of your comparables, your red comparables,
yes,
I'm assuming these are all gas stations?
yes.
Okay, do you know the brand of gas station?
Yes, I have the rent comparable pictures. If you
Yes,
can see,
okay.
you can have the
See some
view
of
of that, page
Right.
number 12
Okay,
has the comparable number 1. Which it
Okay.
has speed. It has the convenience store too,
so,
same like the subject property.
right, so they all have a convenience store.
They all have the convenience store.
And do any of them have car washes?
The comparable number 2 has a car wash,
All right,
and I believe comparable number only 2 has a car wash.
all right,
Yes,
thank you.
you're
That's all my
welcome.
questions. Mr. Rivera, if you'd like to proceed with your read.
Actually, I don't know if you remember, but I said
Yes.
that I would confirm this at the beginning.
Yep.
So yes, we are seeking a confirmation.
Thank you. We will move on to item number 2, which is 255 Portage Avenue, 554. And I believe Mr. Channing, you are on. Oh, thank you.
File number 24-4414. Roll number 07569139360. Property address 255 Portage Avenue, 2025. Assessment value based on FL1 2023 is $3,937,000. It's currently used as a vehicle service garage or vehicle service related. Page 2 consists of some photographs of the subject property. It's on the intersection of Portage and Murray Street. The property on page 5, the property is assessed on using income approach. We have a 20,731 square feet of area, which is a table rent of $13.41. This brings a potential rent of $278,003. We applied a vacancy loss of 2%, expenses of 3%, shortfall of $6 per square feet, which brings the net operating income as $261,782. We applied a cap rate of 6.65%, which gives us the cap rate an overall value of $3,937,000. There was the subject property was inspected, but it was post reference date. I personally conducted the inspection for this property. The reason behind my inspection was it was a replot case. There were 2 adjacent lots, and the property was replotted, and then there was a new tenant who moved in. Moving on to the page 6, I have some rent comparables. I have 3 rent comparables, which are of the similar size of a similar kind of business, vehicle service garages. The average rent from my rent comparables is $19.67, and a median is $21. Moving on to the cap rate study. Now, since this property consists of office and vehicle service garage, so we consider it more of an office suburban area. So if the cap rate should lie between 5.25 to 6.75, it's on a higher end of the cap rate study, so it's at 6.65, considering its nature of business. Moving further from pages 10 to 13, we have the income and expense mailer. 13 to 14, sorry. We have the income and expense mailer, and going forward from page 15 to the end, I have the rent comparable pictures. So to conclude my presentation, I would ask the board to maintain 2025 assessed value of $3,937,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Oltruzio, did you have any questions?
Let's go back to page 6, your rent comparables. Are any of these former car dealership?
No, none of them are car dealerships.
The subject though was a car dealership at one point, was it not?
It was at one point.
Is it still not a car dealership or is it turned into something else?
It turned into vehicle service garage, and I believe it was Boyd Auto Body Shop that took it over.
That's the current tenant,
That's a good thing.
right? And again, you are using a 6.65% cap rate. And this one is at the higher end of the range. And you're again relying on office rates for this?
So this specific property has a major space for the office property, like a major office section, which has a lot of like cabins and office people space, and then other half has all the vehicle service garage related equipment. So it's kind of a mixed property. But vehicle service garages are considered into our office portfolio section, so we are relying on that straight, so. So we have, so we kind of used suburban A or B, Eddie. For the cap rates, and it's at 6.65 for that.
Those are my questions, thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Anderson?
I have no questions, thank you.
I just have a couple of questions, Mr. Richard. This is model driven, correct? Okay. And this is at 20,731 square feet, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And your comparables, your rent comparables on page 6, they are somewhat smaller than the subject.
That is true, yes.
And you could not find anything closer to the size of the subject property.
Unfortunately, no.
Okay. And I'm sorry if this was asked, but what is taking place to the best of your knowledge at your rent comparables?
I would suggest, if we look at 20 Lakewood Boulevard, that's 8,087 square feet with, which is rented out as $22. It's more of like a bigger size when we compare to the subject property, like it.
Yes, I'm sorry, just to clarify, do you know what's taking place though at Lakewood?
Like what kind of business?
Yes,
Oh, sorry.
yes, sorry.
Yeah, it's a Boyd medical, a Boyd auto shop.
It's Boyd, okay. And McPhillips and Vermillion?
At Vermillion, it's Fountain Tire, and same as in McPhillips. Fountain
Alright.
Tire.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions, thank you.
Sure, tomorrow wasn't given an opportunity to ask any questions this time, I guess.
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I was gonna bring it up now.
I can just say it's Friday afternoon. I'm
Um,
sorry, Mr. Navarro, please
no, it's-
proceed.
It's okay. I do have a couple of questions, and one of them unfortunately is not solely value related. So, Mr. Assessor, you work in the office crew.
Yes.
Right. Now, you're aware that the office, let's call it the office crew for now, also handles auto vehicle related uses, garages, and also gas stations, correct? Yes. Now, you're aware that other departments also handle things that are outside of the scope of their particular use. For example, the apartment crew also handles institutional cost properties. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay, so this may be the reason that you are actually using office cap rates, not necessarily because these are office properties, but because you've confused that fact. Would you agree that these are really retail properties?
We could say that, like
Okay.
they are retail,
Okay.
because the customers come in and go out, so they're under our portfolio.
Yes, so it is really a factor of the type of work that you do in the particular area of the department, correct? So, okay, thank you. Thank you.
Would you like to proceed?
I think
Now
we'll
I
just go to the last, according to page 14 right away. So there's no disagreement on the NOI. I use their rent. It seemed fine. On page 13, you can see our reasoning in terms of why we have a slight dispute on cap rate. So page 13 outlines the asset class that we used, and it is retail. So we submitted a retail cap study along with our evidence. I'm sure you've heard it from more than one person at this point. And the way that we've stratified this is into retail top quality, retail standard quality, and retail low quality. And we think this property is right in the middle at the top. So it would be the retail standard quality at 7%. And that retail standard quality ranges between 7 and 7.5%. And so we've elected to use the better cap rate for the retail standard quality is 7%. That's the only dispute we have with this valuation. We get an indicated market value of $3,739,738 and rounded to $3,740,000. Um. I don't have questions.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions this time.
Right, thank you. Ms. Anderson?
I have no questions. Thank you.
I have no questions. Thank you very much.
And I also have no questions. Thank you. Does either party have a wish for summation on this property?
No.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 3, which is 3316. Portage Avenue. And we are looking at assessed value on this property. Ms. Bavar, I assume you are going to be presenting this.
Yes.
We would like to proceed.
File number 242420. Roll number is 075534000000. Owner is Westwood Village Shopping Center. Address is 3316 Portage Avenue. 2025 assessed value based on the reference date of April 1st, 2023 is 2,320,000. The subject property has actual and effective year built is 1964. Land area is 35,475 square feet. It has a gross floor area is 9,512 square feet. Leasable area is 7,300. Page number 2 and 3 has the pictures of the subject property. Subject property is facing its frontage on the Portage Avenue. Page number 3 shows that it has also the self-service car wash. Page number 4 shows this subject property is not recently sold. So the page number 5, I have the income stream number 1, which is the vehicle service garage. It has a leasable area of 2,930 square feet. Rent is $13.28. Potential rent is 38,910. It has a vacancy loss of 2%. Expense at 3%. $6 per square feet for the shortfall, which generates the net operating income 36,636. Overall cap rate is 5.95%. The low cap rate is the reason of good location because the area where the subject property is located are mostly the car dealerships or the vehicle service garages. And for the income stream 1, the estimated value is 616,000, and the rent comparable for the vehicle service garage has the average mean is $19.88 and the median is $20.75. On the page number 6, I have the income stream of the vehicle car wash. It has the leasable area of 2,330 square feet. Rent is 7.84, which is the potential rent 18,267. Vacancy loss at 2%, expense at 3%, shortfall of $6 per square feet. Generates the net operating income 17,085. It has a cap rate of 6.35. For this particular income stream, the estimated value is 269,000. And the bottom of the page has the rent comparable of the vehicle car wash. I'm sorry about the another correction for the car wash as well, the comparable number 1. The address 1425 McPhillip Street 9050. It's supposed to be 1361 McPhillip. And the square footage is wrong as well. It's supposed to be 3,360 square feet. And the rent is supposed to be $14.50. And which changed the average mean to $15.82 and median to $14.94. And the income stream 3 is the SKP store. It has a leasable area of 2,040. And the rent is $30.98. Potential rent $63,199. It has the same vacancy loss at 2%, expense at 3%, shortfall of $6 per square feet. Which generates the net operating income 59,832. Cap rate is at 5.65%. It has the additional building value of 376,000. And the additional building value breakdowns are on the page number 8, which has the cost of the tanks, pumps, and canopies. And the estimated value for this income stream is 1,435,000. And page number 8 has the rent comparable of the FKP store. I would like to state again that comparable number 2, I already submitted the correction in the last property. I will repeat it here again. The square foot is supposed to be 4,580 and the rent is 2,350. Which also changed the average mean to 32.98 and the median to 32.22. And the page number 9 has the income value summary in detail of the all income streams. And we can see the overall cap rate for all the income stream will be 5.84%, which is also falling on the low end of the retail section, has 5.627 cap rate on the page number 10. And the page number 12 through 16 is the income and expense mailer, and they reported that the tenants are paying directly all the rents, so I believe it is a net lease. And the page number 17 through 31, I have the pictures of the rent comparable of all the income stream. That is the end of my presentation. Any question is welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro.
Yes, the first question is, again, have you used a cap rate from the office cap rates?
For that, I can say it will be the lower end of the rating
Okay, but
from the table.
still from the office table,
Not the office table. This time I'm telling it's from the retail table.
oh, retail table, okay. Yeah. Now, in terms of the property itself, would you agree that this is one premise?
As how our system break down, because vehicle service garage is used to for the vehicle service repair, car wash is separate to wash the car, so they contribute all to the same premises, but the different income streams, so that's why the rent is different.
Oh, yes, I realize the rent is different. So
Yes,
I suppose hypothetically, if the property were to sell, would it sell for 3 different cap rates?
that's how our mass appraisal system works,
Okay,
so I
yes,
really
I realize.
focus on that only.
Okay,
I can't assume anything.
those are my questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson, any questions?
Yes, thank you for your presentation. On page 6, when you have your car wash rent comparables, I'm wondering, are any of those rent comparables self-serve car washes? Like, are they wand car washes? Is that what you're saying the subject property is?
Let me double check it. Give me one moment, please.
Okay.
I believe the comparable number 3 is the coin wash. Car wash. And the comparable number 4 seems to be the same as well. The first 2 comparable are the touchless car wash, and the comparable number 3 and 4, I believe, is the self.
Okay, so the same as the subject property.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My other question is in regards to the cap rate that you're using. This property, 1964, effective, like that's when it was built and that's the effective year. Just, it seems that having it on the, it's on the low end. This is a 60-year-old property. Just wondering how that's reflected.
From the physical appearance on the page number 3, even though the subject property has the effective year bill 1964, it does seems to be in the like good condition. But as if you're only specific about the cap rate, that is generated by the mass appraisal system. So I really don't know for that old property if it's fair or no. But because of the location, I believe it is at the good location on the cottage, which is high traffic area, and it has a low risk about the, if even though the property is selling, or either if the new tenant is coming, I believe it is at a low risk. That's why the cap rate is 5.95 for the vehicle service garage, and 635 for the car wash, and 565 for the STP.
Okay, and do you have a note on when the last time this property was inspected? Have you-
For 3316, it's been more than, I think, 3 to 4 years. I checked the data, the property was not inspected.
Okay, okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Those are all my questions.
Welcome, thank you.
The question I was gonna ask is, with respect to the actual subject property, when I look at the pictures that you provided on pages 3 and I believe 4, page 3, it appears that the subject property has been renovated to very modern standards for the petrocans that I've seen in the city. Do you know if much of the original building is even left from this, or has this been modified heavily through the years?
How we get to know that if it is modified or any work has been upgraded through the permits? So far, if there is no permit submitted, assessment department don't know about it until there is some issue going on, or we inspect it and then we change the effective year bill. For so far for this property, I don't have any record of that. Like, it looks new to me, but if we check the effective year bill is 1964, is still there.
Okay. And you've checked to see if there are permits, and there are none?
Not for the previous 2 to 3 years. Rest of that, I have not checked old data about this property.
It would appear, and again, forgive me, but it would appear that the actual year built 1964 is no longer applicable, and that the effective year built should be quite a bit newer based on what I'm seeing in those pictures. So maybe it's time for the department to have a look at the particular property and to see what's left of the original building. I just,
For sure, I'll make a note of that. I will definitely search more about that effective year bill if it needs to be corrected.
and all of these values that were created for the 3 streams that you have here today are all model driven, correct?
Yes.
All right. I think that answers my questions at this point. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And all my questions have been asked and answered. Mr. Navarro, you would like to proceed?
Yep, this is 3316 Portage Avenue. I believe you can see some pictures on pages. Reviews. If you're looking at this through a computer and a PDF document, plays yourself quite easily. So let's start with page. This is page 8. You can see the pictures of it. For your reference, it's where we see the property site map photographs. Okay. The next picture over on page 9 is the land improvement, land and improvements description. Now, in terms of the age, obviously, this is not a 1964 or 66 building. It's been updated. In terms of the valuation, if you can flip to the potential market rent calculations and market indicators on page 13. What we've done is we've used the actual rent in place, which is $115,000 for 7,300 square feet. And we have one premise with 3 income streams. We have a vacancy allowance of 2%, shortfall of $6, management of 3%. And on page 14, you can see the capitalization rate information. This is from the retail sector. So we have 3 these are the 3 types of classes that we have: retail, top quality, standard, and low quality. So for this property, we rated it at top quality at a 6.50% cap rate. So on page 16, you can see the income approach summary. So we start off with the total potential rent, and that's 115,000, 2% for vacancy, giving us an effective market of 112,700. We have $4,257 in expense allowances. That's a net operating income of 108,443 and a capitalization rate of 6.50. That gives us an income value of 1,668,361. Now, in previous dockets, I've gone through this explanation of the adjustments. So the assessor uses Marshall Swift to estimate the cost of the cost elements of this property. So there are certain items in most gas stations which can't be valued on income, but they do have a value. And those are the canopies, pumps, and tanks. Those numbers are adjusted for age based on the Marshall Swift tables. We've reviewed the tables. We have no disagreement with the values that the assessor has presented. We use the same valuation service so we can validate what they've done is correct. So we get an income value, a total income value, including the income streams and the cost elements of $2,044,361 or $2,044,000. And I am open for questions.
I have no question. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson.
I have no questions. Thank you. Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So in essence, you use the reported rent of $115,000, correct?
Correct.
But you've arbitrarily divvied it up between the 3 bits of this property, I'm guessing,
That's what they're paid for, yeah. Yeah.
but arbitrarily divided up, correct?
Well, we are conscious of how much, for example, the C stores rent for where they have car washes. We're conscious of how much car washes are when they are portioned out. So the remainder was the vehicle service garage.
Best guess.
Yeah. Well,
And again, I'm not being critical, I'm just, certainly a certain amount of, you've looked at the marketplace.
yeah,
And you've derived some rents that you're comfortable with. And then.
exactly.
Fair enough.
From our perspective, the actual rent is, in this case, the best indicator of the rent potential of this property. So.
Yeah, and to that end, I actually noticed that the assessor's using 120,000.
Which is not far off.
Not a thousand that's particularly wide, so. Okay, those are my questions, thank you.
I just have one question, Mr. Navarro, just in regards to the age of the building, and you did reference in your presentation that it's. Well, we're gonna say obviously not 1964, just from the pictures, but so do you know whether the original building was demolished or this has been just sort of remodeled and added to, or?
Updated. I don't know if you're familiar with the Grand Park Shopping Center location, the former Petrocan there. So you'll note that they did tear down the car wash in that situation. I don't know why, because it wasn't an old gas station, but they did it anyways. My understanding is the car wash is deteriorated quite quickly, so that's why they tore it down and built a new one. But they kept the C-store and they just changed the exterior of it and the interior, changed the mechanicals. The structure itself is still sound, so they were able to use it. Same sound structure, they're just able to use it, but they do update everything else. That would include the roof, the building mechanicals, the exterior finishes. So the only thing left of the original building is essentially the skeleton.
The shell of the building
Yeah.
is still 1960.
Exactly.
All right.
And I will also add that we do account for that in terms of the locational adjustment that we make on it. It accounts for the top quality retail class. Now, I know I've had arguments with people in terms of what to do with effective ages on certain structures. In these types of situations, what I'll tell you is, and I work on the cost side of it too. If it was a cost property, yes, you would have to take it into account because you would have to make those adjustments to the age of the property, properly cost it out. On the income side of it, it's not as important. You will recognize it through the cap rate. If you're not recognizing it through the cap rate, then there's something wrong.
Thank you for that. Does either party have a wish for a summation?
No.
Nope, thank you.
All right. We will move on to item number 4, which is. Um. 3331 Portage Avenue. And again, this is on assessed value and Mr. Ratan, I believe you're up.
Thank you. File number 24-2412, roll number 07560163500. Property address 3331 Portage Avenue. 2025 assessed value based on April 1, 2023 is $2,526,000. Its parcel use is CMPSR. Moving on to page 2 and page 3, I have some photographs of the subject property. It's located on Portage and Montreal Street. The subject property is valued on income approach with 4 different premises. The average table rent for all the premises is $17.64, and we derived it dividing 173,987 divided by total leasable area of 9860, and we came at $17.64. We applied a vacancy loss of 2%, an expense rate of 3%, and a shortfall at $6 per square feet, which brings the net operating income at $164,209. After that, we applied an overall cap rate of 6.5%, which brings the capitalized value at $2,526,292, rounded downwards to $2,526,000. Page 4, and we have subject property leases, a small photograph of that, showing there are 4 tenants in the property. All the tenant leases starts in roughly around 2021 and 2023 and end around 2026 and 2027. So almost like 5-year leases. And the property manager or the property owner marked it as net lease. Moving forward to page 6, I have pre-rent comparables. Of these three rent comparables, I see we have a mean of $20.30 and a median of $18.33. The rent comparables actual year bills is in a range of 1960 to 1991, and the subject property actual year built and effective year built is 1981. Moving forward from page 10. To elaborate, we have the income and expense measure. And going forward from pages 12 till pages 16, I have the photographs of the comparables. So to conclude, I would ask the board to maintain 2025 assessed value of $2,526,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, your question, please.
I have no questions, thank you.
Still going through the questions.
The actual rents are recorded on page 10. And I can see that it says $180,046.92 plus $1,000 for parking. This is multi-tenanted car related businesses from what I see in the pictures, correct?
That was correct.
And your overall rent is $173,987, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And your comparisons, because it's multi-tenanted, you've shown us 3 comparisons on page 6.
That is correct.
Were you unable to find rent comparisons for vehicle service garages on Portage Avenue in the vicinity?
That is correct. I wasn't able to find something new about that location in our database.
Alright. And final question. This was again model driven.
That's true.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Ms. Anderson.
Thank you. My question relates to the vacancy rate. This is a multi-tenant building, and so I'm just wondering, would that not drive a different vacancy rate in the model, or?
So whenever like our modelers work on specific properties like this or any kind of properties, they will analyze the area, they will analyze the factors for vehicle service garages in this example, and they'll not only look at this property but multiple properties like this, and then they come up with a vacancy percentage of 2% or any number. Even if we look at the I&E filled out by the property manager or owner, we can see there are like 4 leases starting back in 2021 or 2022, and they are continued till like 2026 or 2027. So there are 5 or 4 term unit leases, showing that there are likely going to be renewed or there are less chances of being vacant.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you. That's my only question.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just have one question, Mr. Rattan. Just in regards, this is a multi-tenanted property, correct?
That is correct.
And but all your comps
Single time.
single.
Yeah.
And thank you. Mr. Navarro, whenever you're ready.
So this is 3331 Portage Avenue. It's a multi-tenanted vehicle service garage for several operators. On page 8, you can see an outside picture and the general location of that picture. On page 13, you can see the income and expense information pertaining to rent. So we believe there is a discrepancy in terms of the size of the property. And we've gone with the higher size based on the leases that are in place. So the leases that you would find in this location are on page 20 of my report. And the areas for those particular units add up to 11,361. 367, sorry. The leases themselves, in our opinion, are very good leases. They would be considered market. We have no reason for disputing them. They are probably the best indicator of what market rent would be for these particular units. So we have an annual rent of $178,257 based on the area, that's the area leased. That is $15.68 per square foot. And that is what we are applying. Now, you notice that there was a mistake that was made on this in terms of the allowance, and that was the vacancy allowance. So we should have actually put a 2% vacancy allowance on this. We put a 4% vacancy allowance. So that actually shifts the numbers a bit. But I will continue to go over the rest of it. And then if I would be allowed, I could recalculate the numbers. It would take me probably less than 5 minutes to do it.
It's fine, we can take a recess at
Okay.
that point.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Yep. So the capitalization rate that we took was from the retail standard quality between 7 and 7.5. We chose it at 7.25. And on page 16, you can see the income expense summary. Beyond that, there is the income and expenses that were provided by the client, indicating that they were compliant. So yes, if you would allow me 5 minutes, I can do the calculations, accounting for that change in vacancy allowance and,
All right,
okay.
thank you. We're
Thank
just going to take a 5 to 7 minute recess. Here's my. Thank you. Thank you. I would like to call this hearing back to order. And Mr. Navarro, I believe you have some new numbers for us.
Yes, so this is on page 16. We'll start from the beginning. So the rent is not being affected. So we have a rent potential of $178,257. Now we've adjusted the vacancy to 2%. That changes the allowance to $3,565. Now, if we subtract that $3,565 from the potential, we get an effective market income of $174,692. That's $174,692. In terms of shortfall, based on the recalculation of the 2% vacancy and the $6 shortfall, we get a shortfall allowance of $1,364. That's 1,364. For non-recoverable expenses, the allowance is 1%, and that amounts to $1,747.
1,000.
$747.
Thank you, sorry.
In terms of other structural 2%, that changes to $3,494.
3,000.
$494.
Thank you.
So the net operating income, subtracting the effective market income, and then we're subtracting the allowances from the effective market income, we get a net operating income of $168,087. That's 168,087. And 168,087 divided by 0.275, that's 2,318,441. 2,318,441.
So you said just now 7.75.
That was 7.25.
7.25, sorry. You said the other, that's why I'm asking.
No, 7.25.
Your overall value that is $2,000,000.
$318,441.
And are you rounding that to 2,318,000?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Beyond page 17, we just have the income and expenses showing that the client is compliant. So I'm open for questions.
Thank you. Mr. McCann, questions?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So one of my questions would be on page 16.
Mhm.
So as per the, what factors were considered when you chose the net market rent per square feet for this building? Uh, when it is clearly mentioned by the property owner or manager that the rental income is 180,000. $46 on page 19, and you're mentioning it has 178,257 on page 16.
Well, I don't think there's much of a difference there, but our calculation is based on the actual leases that are in place. In terms of the $180,446.82. I'm not sure how that's derived. So if you factor in the rents based on the rents that are in place, that's what it works out to, 178,257. However, of note is typically we don't look at that page to derive the rents. The rents are derived from the actual lease clauses. So that's how we work them out. In fact, that's how you work them out in your model. Because I've done that job in the past, so.
Yeah, that's all my questions.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson.
Thank you. In regards to your cap rate, that's my question, the cap rate of 7.25, if you can just speak to the rationale for selecting 7.25 for proposing that.
Well, I would think that there's probably a little bit of age involved in that. So we put this at the retail standard quality. And that would have been the biggest factor relating to cap rate. From our opinion, this is not a gas station. The gas stations are particularly positioned on main thoroughfares. This is a main thoroughfare, but it's a multi-tenant facility. There's more risk involved in that. You will have vacancy issues at times, so those are the main reasons, but I mean, conceivably, it could have been a 7 as well, at the top end of the retail standard quality as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for your presentation.
Yep.
Thank you. Questions?
I'd like you to go to page 19 of your report where you show the annual income received. And what I'm driving at here is you have stated earlier that you're using a larger area of 367 square feet, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And I note on page 19, total leasable area is typed in by the Kirkfield Hotel Limited property owner at 9,860 square feet.
Right.
And so I know these buildings don't grow on their own, so do they create a mezzanine potentially?
No, I think there's just an error there. So if you look at the lease rate, the lease areas.
That was gonna be,
Yeah.
you look at that, and you kind of go,
Yeah, no, I believe that is an error. So we're going by the lease, we're oversizing this building, so.
and I appreciate
Yeah.
that, I understand that, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand how. One of the it appears one of the units, unit number, I don't know if it's the unit number, but the one that's attributed to Westwood Auto. Appears to be 3,815 square feet according to what they submitted to the
Yeah.
department. But yet the department is lower than that, and I'm
Yeah.
assuming that. That is pretty much the difference
So-
between the two positions.
Look, what I would say about that is, I know a lot of times the assessment records don't change. So sometimes they're not capturing changes as they're coming. It's a huge mistake because it's 2,000 square feet, so I don't know
It's a
where,
fairly significant number.
but that is. We're basing it on the leases that are in place, which say that these are the stated areas. So from our perspective, we're not undercutting this space.
And I do appreciate the
Yeah.
comment, I really do, but then I'll ask this, have you inspected this property, sir?
I haven't, but I have no reason to believe that these areas are wrong based on the lease and,
Generally speaking. Wouldn't you agree that? The taxation department would. Put an increase in space onto a building, that they're usually pretty good with that, aren't they? Because if 2,000 square feet is appeared out of someplace, generally speaking, that would be. Significant addition to the building. Would you agree with me?
I don't know how you want me
This
to,
unusual.
I don't
really
want you
do.
to, I don't know how you want me to answer that, because then I'd be answering for them.
Okay,
Um,
and that's fair, you know
yeah.
what, honestly, lad, thank you very much, I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, those are my questions, I guess, thank you.
Got it, kind of for the.
Sure, good luck.
Yeah, so if we go back onto my page on page 1. We have a gross floor area for this property at 10,431 square feet. So I'm assuming the income and expense meter filled by the property owner or the manager could be wrong, because at times we saw that they are not, how do I word it? They're not consistent with the areas that they put in.
Well, the problem still is though, sir, that we have. If you're using your gross floor area of 10,431 square feet. Mr. Navarro is using an area of 11,367 square feet, a difference still of 936 square feet, so it's a fairly significant area, and I'm just. Again, we need to, if there is a discrepancy of that size. The department's going to need to have a look to see what's going on here, sir. And Mr. Navarro, I'm not questioning. I understand you're using what they've given to us, so.
Yeah. I mean,
So what actually I wanted to say was like our areas which we included for leasable for 9860. Is less than the gross floor area, representing all the areas that couldn't be used in a property. So like we have it at 9860 and the gross is 10,000. So the assessment department only accounted for 9,860 square feet out of like 10,431. Showing that there are some spaces which can't be accounted for being on leased out spaces, like which could be corridors or any XYZ spaces.
That'll be. Yes, it would require,
But yeah, we will.
there's still a difference of 571 square feet now. Mechanical room, potentially, but
These are older properties, so what I always understood was they have like huge corridor space, but again, it's a vehicle service guide, so I can't say that's a large corridor, but there are spaces which can't be leased out. So we kind of like have, we keep it as a department, I should say. So right now, the percentage is 94.52, as in like occupant leasable efficiency, which is pretty good for us.
I appreciate that comment also, but I'm going to suggest to you that
No,
there is a need here to have a look, because the discrepancy between Mr. Navarro's position and the position the department has taken is fairly significant both ways, so we would probably do a great service to have it looked at properly
sure,
and entirely.
Yeah.
Sorry, those are my questions and thank you very much for your additional input.
Mr. Navarro, I have no questions for you, but Mr. McNabb, I do have a question just in regards, and you may have stated this. On your brief, page 5. Did you give us the blended rate?
Blended
Rent
table,
rate.
yeah, yes.
Yeah, and sorry, I just need the number.
1764,
Thank you.
and that's based on the leasable area as 9860.
Thank you. Does either party have a wish for a submission?
No, okay.
No, I'm good, thank you.
We move on to item number 5, which is 3755 Portage Avenue. And again, we are looking at assessed value. Oh, and if you would like to proceed.
Yes, file number 242495, roll number is 072100000100. Address is 3755 Portage Avenue. Owner is Red River Co-op. 2025 assessed value based on reference date of April 1st, 2023 is 2,147,000. Subject property has actual and effective year build is 1998. It has a land area of 26,553. Gross floor area and the leasable area are the same at 3,075 square feet. Page number 2 has the picture of the subject property. Subject property is located in between Portage and Isbister Street, and the front is facing the Portage Avenue. Page number 3 has the further picture of the subject property, which shows that it has the convenience store, car wash. Page number 4 shows it does not have any sales history. Page number 5, I have the income stream 1, vehicles car wash. 935 square feet at the rate of $10.39, which will rate the potential rent of $9,715. Vacancy loss at 2%, expense at 3%, shortfall at $6 per square feet, which generates the net operating income at $9,123. The cap rate is 5.10, and the estimate value for this income stream is $179,000, and the rent comparable of the vehicle car wash has the same correction I did it in the last one. The comparable number 1, the address supposed to be 13661 McPhillip Street, and the square footage 3,360. Rent will be $14.50. Which changed the average mean to $15.82 and the median to $14.94. Page number 6 has the income stream 2, is the SKP store. It has a leasable area of 2,140 square feet. Rent is 37.43, which generate the potential rent to 80,100. Vacancy loss at 2%. Expense at 3%, shortfall of $6 per square feet, which generates the net operating income 75,886. Cap rate at 5.45%. Additional building value comes from the tanks, pumps, and canopy of 576,000. Page number 7 has the further breakdown of that additional building component. And the estimate value for this income stream is 1,968,000. Page number 7 has the rent comparable of the SKP stores. It has the same correction of the comparable number 2. The leasable area is 4,580 square feet. Rent is 2,350, which comes up the average mean to 3298. And the median to 32.22. Page number 8 has the further breakdown of the income value summary for the both stream. It has the overall cap rate of 5.41%. For the page number 9, I could not able to categorize that cap rate from any of the table. But I would like to say because of it has a lower risk compared to the standard retail store with no gas station. Usually the tenants are responsible for overall investment. They usually have the long-term investment and the maintenance cost is very low. And it happens about 8 to 10 years. So that's why we consider the cap rate is low, because of the less risk involved. And the page number 11 has the income and expense mirror. It shows that the property is fully owner occupied. Page number 12 to 22, I have the rent comparable pictures for the both income stream. That is the end of my presentation. Any question are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, questions?
Yes, just to be clear, is there an error on the Garden City comparable? That's your comp one on car wash and VCD?
Yes,
There is an error?
there is no error actually. The address is supposed to be 1361 McPhillip. So that's how the comparables were already set it up in the system. When we further analyzed, that's where we find the error. So that's why I'm making the correction right now.
Okay,
So if you want to know the square footage, that is 3,360 and the rate is 14.50.
okay.
Yes.
Now, I noticed that you break your comparables down by rent per square foot.
Yes.
Why don't you have the total rent for them?
So that's how it is submitted to us. So we need to calculate the rent comparables rent by separating the vehicle car wash rent.
So you arbitrarily assign a rent to the car wash and then one to the C-store.
Yes,
Okay, so it's not necessarily, here's your rent, you divide it by the combined square footage of those two components, and this is what you get per square foot. You arbitrarily assign a value to the C-store and to the car wash.
yes.
Okay, so it actually may add up to more than what the property is actually netting.
I just drive the rent comparables from the system, so I did not did any like manual work on it.
Okay,
That's how it is
And not a-
organized and sorted out.
okay, great, thank you. And the cap rate is taken from the office area?
Right now I can say it is the lower end of the retail, but we could not able to categorize because it is the lower end of the retail. And it is not falling in any particular category. I consider it is a lower risk, that's why the cap rate is low.
Do you have anything to justify that position?
Usually how it is that because these kind of particular location, like especially the gas station, they are mean for that particular purpose. Like if it is a gas station, it's supposed to be the gas station there, right? And they have the low maintenance time, like for example, after 8 to 10 years, they are cleaning up their gas station or so. And they usually have the long-term leases because they are the gas station, so it's not like that they are there for some time and then some other store comes like office property usually shift. So that's why I consider it is a low risk property because it is designed for specifically for the gas stations.
Okay, specifically, you haven't actually included that in your evidence though, right?
No,
Okay, okay, so that
it is
is,
my journal part, right?
okay, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all your questions?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Anderson, any questions?
No questions. They've been asked and answered. Thank you.
I do have one question, like, on page 11. Bit further to what Mr. Navarro was asking. This property is actually owner occupied, is it not?
Yes,
So there's no rent per se that has been reported, correct?
yes. No rent has been reported.
They're reporting expenses, obviously, because
Yes.
they are the owners. Those are my questions.
Great, thank you. And my questions have been asked and answered. Thank you. Mr. Rivera, would you like to proceed?
Okay, so I think the assessor described the property, so I don't think we need to go over it, but we can flip to right, page 13. So you note that I asked the assessor a particular question about a property on Phillips Street. And you'll note on page 7 of the assessor brief that the square footage of that of the C-store is 2,330 square feet. You'll note that on page 5 of the assessor's brief, the car wash section of that particular property is noted as 2,250 square feet. Now, the total of that is 4,580. Now, I also happen to have that comparable in my set of comparisons. That is comparison number 3, 4,580 square feet. Now, you see the lease that's in place and the annual rent. I was very particular about why I asked the assessor, why did you not include the total annual rent? Now, the total annual rent is 126,999.96 divided by the 4,580 square feet of both components of that gas station produces a net rate per square foot of $27.72. So this is the reason that I was asking the questions about how the assessment department actually calculates these things. So it doesn't make sense based on the actual rents that are in place. Now, you'll also note that I included several situations of C-store and car washes. We have one on Lakewood, Sage Creek, Sterling Line, and Beaver Hill. And they range between 90,300 all the way up to 126,999.96. Now, I've used a rent of $94,660. I've broken the two components up. It produces a combined rent of $30.78 per square foot. I don't think we're arguing on any of the other valuation parameters. We'll just go to cap rate now. So I've assigned the 6.50 cap rate to this property. It's on Portage Avenue. I should have the best cap rate from the retail quality based on its location. So we get a value of $1,378,689. Components, those are those cost elements, $576,000. We get a total value of $1,954,689, or $1,955,000. The remainder of the brief is just the income and expenses that were submitted. So I'm open for questions.
Questions?
Yes, we do have it. So as Mr. Applicant said about that comparable number 1 for the vehicle car wash and the comparable number 2 for the SKP store, he's referring to the same comparable we unfortunately in the last appeal, we searched for it after we went to the office and we came up that it has 2 different addresses. So the SKP store he's talking about is a Petro Canada. And the vehicle car wash is not the same, it is the Northgate car wash. So they are the 2 different property in our system. We searched the leases of that. And Mr. Ratan has explored more about it. If you have any question to follow up, he would like to answer.
So on your page 13, you were talking about comparable number 3, right?
Yes.
And which C-store and car wash we are talking about here?
Which C-store car wash?
Yeah, on McPhillip Streets.
Okay, so I used to live in this area, so I know it quite well.
Mhm.
There is the One Wash, which is beside the theater. Okay, that's not what's there. And there is the Petrocan with the drive-through car wash.
Okay,
So I have the rent for the Petrocan.
so I also used to live there for almost 5 years, and I actually analyzed this lease. Last docket, we had the same confusion there, so I actually went into it, and the 2772, I never figured out how this rent was brought up. Because after analyzing the lease, they don't give us that yearly rent. They only give us monthly rent, which was for 8,000 something, which brings the net rent per square feet for $23. There is nowhere on the lease from Sunport bringing up it has $27.72, so we are.
8,000, how much per month?
I will give you right amount. Give me a second, I write it down somewhere. On my first one, yes. It is $8,968.75. That is the monthly rent they reported in the lease.
So that's 2772.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say. You were saying that there are two separate properties.
Mhm.
No, I'm speaking to Mr. Navarro. Two separate properties. One is the Petrocan, correct?
With
And
the
that-
drive-through car wash. Yeah.
Who has the car wash.
Yeah.
And the other property
Is
is,
another property altogether.
and it has a car wash.
It's just a car wash.
It's just,
Just
In
and
fact, it's at the bottom there. 1967 in the chart on page 13.
on McPhillips.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's right beside, okay,
It's close, right beside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the North Gate Shopping Center has been changed over the years.
Mhm.
But there used to be a theater and there's a wand wash right beside it, an older wand wash. At facing McPhillips Street, there is a Petrocan there with a C-store and a drive-through car wash. So if you can just quote that amount for me again, 8,000.
Which one? Okay, $8,968.75.
Okay, so bear with me just for a second.
For sure.
And we're talking the Petrocan now, it's correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
only the petrol can.
So that actually works out to $23.50.
Yes.
Yeah, and then like we actually mentioned this when we were talking about our comparables, both the comparables are different. So this 1361 McPhillips on our page 5 is just for the Quine car wash,
Yes.
which is being rented out at $14.50, which Mr. Navarro has absolutely right in his brief at page 30. And when we talk about our comparable on page 7 for 1425 McPhillips Street,
For the SKP store.
on comparable number 2, it's just for the Petro Canada car wash. So they are not the same things.
Okay, and
And
I hope we're not confused here.
I know the problem, so I'm not confused, but
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're not.
So
Yes.
I'm suggesting that the rent, maybe I looked at an older clause in the lease that maybe it went down. But this effectively doesn't help your position from my perspective. We're looking at a lower rent per square foot for the car wash and the SKP. So we've gone from $27 and some cents to $23.50. I hope you understand that.
yes, that's why we just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure the leases that we are talking about are separate.
Questions, did you have further?
No further question.
So just to be clear, I also, the rent that I've assigned combined car wash and e-store is $30.78 per square foot. I don't know, did I say I'm open for questions? I completely forgot my. I forget where we are in this.
I do forget it too.
Yeah,
But-
I'm done.
Yes, but the questions,
I think he was asking me the question and if he has more questions, then otherwise.
I've already
You
presented, right?
presented your
Yeah,
brief, so
So
do you have any further
No,
questions?
I don't have any questions.
All right. And Ms. Anderson, do you have any questions?
I have no,
To Navarro.
thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
No, that it's Friday.
That's Friday.
And I don't think I have any questions, because I know that one is the Petrocan,
yeah,
it's got its drive-through car wash.
they're both detailed in my comparables.
I see
Yeah.
that, and the other one is a wand wash, and
Yeah.
it's as old as the hills.
Yeah,
I'm good.
yeah. I remember going to that one last when I was like 6 or 7 years old. So
My
it's
goodness.
been there for a long time.
My questions have been asked and answered, more or less. But thank you for your brief, Mr. Navarro. Does either party wish for a summation?
No confusion.
No, thank you.
All right. We will move on to our last item on the docket, which is 1761 Sergeant. And I'm sorry, I've lost track. Which one of you is you, Mr. Rattan? All right.
It's the last one.
I'd like to proceed.
Thank you. File number 24-3080, roll number 07569002000, property address 1761 Sergeant Avenue. 2025 assessment value based on April 1, 2023 is $4,745,000. It is as a CMPSR. Page 2 and 3 consist of some of the photographs of the subject property. It has 204 fields and one of the some other spaces. We have this 4 income streams for the subject property. To begin with, on page 5, I have the income stream for vehicle car wash, which shows it has 768 area. With a table rent of $10.17. We applied a vacancy loss of 2% and an expense of 3%. With a shortfall at $6 per square feet. This brings our net operating income as 7,333 square feet. With an overall cap rate of 5.15%. With an estimated value of $142,000. Moving on to page 6, I have an income stream for vehicle service carriage. With a gross area of 10,109 square feet. With a potential rent of 148,879. We applied a vacancy loss of 2%. And our expense rate of 3%. Shortfall at $6 per square feet, which brings the net operating income as $140,311. We applied an overall cap rate of 6.35%, which brings the capitalized value at $2,209,622. There are additional building value of $252,000, which include of canopy, pumps, and other factors. The total value from this income stream is $2,462,000. Moving on to page 8. I have third income stream for store kiosk. That is for our 816 square feet area, which is rented out at $39.42. Brings a potential rent of $32,167. We applied a vacancy loss of 2%, an expense of 3%, and a shortfall of $6 per square feet. This brings a net operating income of $30,480 with an overall cap rate of 4.7%. The estimated value from this income stream is $649,000. The last income stream is associated to office section with a total area of 7,379 square feet with a potential rent of $98,772. We applied a vacancy loss of 6%, an expense rate of 3%, and a shortfall of $8 per square feet, with an overall cap of 5.80. The estimated value from this income stream is $1,492,000. If we switch over to page 10 and 10, 11, and page 11, I have a summary of all the income values of all the income streams, which brings the total estimated market value at $4,745,000. Going forward from pages 14 till 20, I have the income and expense mailer received from filled out by the property management company. And from pages 21 to page 38, I have the photographs of our comparables. So to conclude, I would ask the board to maintain the 2025 assessed value of $4,735,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, questions?
No, I think I'd just be asking the same questions over again, so I'm good, thank you.
Right. Ms. Anderson, any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Yes, and I have to ask this. I'm looking at three streams of income, which I appreciate, that's the way the department does it, but I see a cap rate of 4.7 on one, or sorry. Yes, 4.7 on one, 6.35 on the vehicle service garage, and 5.15 on the car wash. And I'm looking at that, do you see logic in how that is ultimately calculating? 4.7 is, I don't even think that's even in your cap rates in your study there.
So that is not in one of our cap rate studies because it's for store kiosk. So, and that's one of the reasons we don't have it as a subcategorized rate. It is a model driven cap rate for all the income streams.
And I appreciate that, but do you not see where a cap rate of 4% is extremely low? I'm not. Are you saying that that's model driven?
It is
Wow.
extremely low. Again, the factors which might be accounted for a cap rate of 4.7 would be low risk associated to the store. And that's the best of the knowledge I could say to support it.
That's all I can ask for. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
My questions were asked and answered.
Take turn.
It is your turn indeed.
This is 1761 Sergeant. This would be at the corner of Sergeant Avenue and I'm not sure if it's called King Edward at this point or Century. Kind of, I'm sure many of you probably know this area. Page 9, you can see an overhead picture of it. So the way that we approach this, obviously, we're using the income approach. Where the assessor has 4 income streams, we only have 3. And as you know, with car washes and C-stores, we use 1 income stream or 2 income streams under 1 premise. So slightly different approach, simply because we don't think that those 2 can be separated out. So let's go over the office component of it. That's on page 13. So we have 2 leases that are in place. One with a step that occurred on January 17th, 2022, We feel that these rents are representative of the market, so we've gone with them. So we have a total area of 7,559 square feet for the office areas. A rental rate of $13.16 overall. And a potential rent of $99,457. We have a vacancy allowance of 6% for the suburban office. Shortfall rate of $8 and a non-recoverable allowance of 3%. In terms of the office capitalization rates, we've looked at the office component or the office sector. And we've produced a chart, and this is also in the office capitalization rate study that I've submitted. So we don't think that this would be a suburban A-class office building. So we've put it in the B category at 7. You can see that our Altus range for 2025 ranges between 6.75 and 9.50. So not quite at the best side of the office B, but not too far from it. I think the biggest determinant in choosing a 7% for the office component would be its location. It's not typical of an office area. There aren't many offices in this area. Most properties in this area are either airport related uses, manufacturing, heavily on the aerospace side. And also there are retail areas in this particular area. Office, not a lot in this area. So we've bumped up the cap rate slightly from the 6.75, which would be at the best side of the suburban B category. The next component is the BSR. This is the vehicle service related, this is the garage. So we have 3 tenants in place. We've made one adjustment, and that is on unit 300A, 3,800 square feet. That lease ended in October of 2023. So we made a bump on it, and we did, first of all, we didn't take the rent as being legitimate anyways as a net rent. So we chose a rent of $12 per square foot. That is consistent with the other 2 areas in the property. So we have a total potential rent of $121,736. That breaks down to $11.85 per square foot. We have a vacancy allowance of 2%, shortfall rate of $6 per square foot, and non-recovered expenses of 3%. Now, in terms of capitalization rate, you can see our chart there. And for the VSG portion, the vehicle service garage, we've chosen a capitalization rate of 7%. So that would be either at the top or at the high end of the top quality or the low end of the retail standard quality. Now, the last component is the SKP and the VCW, so that's the C-store and the car wash. You can see that we have a rent there, again, $42,000, works out to $26.52 per square foot. 2% vacancy allowance, shortfall of $6 per square foot, 3% non-recoverables, and a capitalization rate again of 7%. On page 21, you can see the entire income approach summary for all of the different streams. So as I mentioned early on, we only have 3 streams, not 2. And the total potential is $263,193. The combined vacancy is 3.51%. Management, again, is 3%. The net operating income is $241,281. Capitalization rate overall is 7%. I will say that was just I didn't intend for it to work out like that. I just chose cap rates that were similar and they just happened to be 7% for all of the different. Income value based on the 7% capitalization rate is $3,446,871. We've added $252,000 in additional adjustments. Those are the cost elements on the SKP and VCW. That brings the total value to $3,698,871. Beyond that is the income and expense mailer that was submitted by the owner. And I am open for questions.
Thank you. Questions?
I have no understanding.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson.
I have no questions, thank you.
Mr. Goldtree.
No, I don't think I have any questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Woodward, did you inspect this property?
No, but I have been there. So, engaging for example, the decisions I made on the office component. It's based on my interpretation of what the property looks like. In terms of the the gas station and car wash, I've been there many times. It's an older location at this point. It's to show it's where it's used as a discount gas station. Now it's not even branded, I believe, like the major brands show. That also reflects the cap rate.
All right. Does either party, thank you, Mr. Does either party have a wish for explanation?
No, I'm good, thank you.
So, all the items on our docket have been heard this afternoon. And this hearing is adjourned. And I would like to say thank you to Mr. Rivero, Ms. Kapar, and Mr. Chan for your agreements.
All right, Madam Chair, I'll take us offline.
Thank you.